Alright, so as you guys know, I have a very in-depth spreadsheet to help us figure out if buying any of the Kaspa miners is actually worth it or not. And as you guys also probably know, there's been a lot of new Kaspa miners coming on the market recently. So in this video, I'm gonna go through that spreadsheet together with you guys, and I'm gonna explain in kind of easy to understand terms just kind of what the spreadsheet tells us. And I also want to go through kind of something that I've realized recently about Kaspa mining in general that I think you guys will find very interesting. So stick around for that coming up after this quick word from our sponsor. Coin Mining Central is an online store for ASIC miners, and there's no doubt that right now ASIC mining profitability has just been going up like crazy in these past few months. And the miners that I'm personally most interested in right now are probably the Goldshell K-A-Box home Kaspa miner and the Jasminer X16Q, which I still think is probably the best ASIC miner available for at-home miners like myself. Coin Mining Central are also continuously providing me with exclusive discount codes for you guys, like the code 𝗬𝗑, which gives you $125 off on every miner in your order. I am also very excited to tell you that Coin Mining Central have recently launched a loyalty program that lets you earn points in loads of different ways, like signing up for their newsletter or following them on social media. You also earn points on every order you make with them, and these loyalty points can then be redeemed for massive discounts on your next purchase. Now, on top of this, with Coin Mining Central, worldwide express shipping is always free, and there are never any added payment fees during checkout or anything like that. The listed price is always the total cost you'll pay for the miners. And I did a lot of research before I decided to partner up with Coin Mining Central, and there were two clear things that stood out to me about them. The first one being that as opposed to most other ASIC vendors that are based overseas, Coin Mining Central is registered and run out of England, Europe, which means they have to adhere to the very strict regulations for customer support and personal detail protection that we have over here. And of course, all brand new miners also come with a full manufacturer warranty. The second thing is their pretty much spotless track record of delivering miners to happy customers like you guys for well over 5 years at this point. So please go check them out today. I'll have the discount codes and link for you down in the video description. So yes, Coin Mining Central, who do sell these miners, is sponsoring this video. However, they did not specifically ask me to make this video. I'm free to say whatever I want about any of these miners, and we're mostly just gonna be looking at straight up numbers in this video anyway. And with that said, if you do want to purchase a Kaspa miner, then Coin Mining Central actually gave me a few exclusive discount codes just for you guys. For example, the code 𝗬𝗑 that gets you $125 off every miner in your order, or the code 𝗬𝗑 that gives you $200 off on the more high-end Kaspa miners. And if you do use those discount codes, then the channel here does get a small commission as well, so kind of a win-win there, and I really do appreciate it. And also, nothing in this video is financial advice, and as we're going to be making some predictions in this video, you know, I don't have a crystal ball, I can't tell the future, so please just keep that in mind. So let's get into it. Starting with this kind of realization I've had about Kaspa mining, which is that where maybe like me, you've been feeling this almost like Kaspa mining fatigue recently, because it just feels like there keeps being a new generation, like almost like one after the other, and there's just a new ASIC miner that's newer and better and more efficient, like one after another. And that kind of got me thinking, like, why is that, and what is going on with Kaspa, and how does that compare to the more you know, older established ASIC mineable coins like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin and whatever. And kind of what I've figured out is that for Kaspa, it's actually the exact same as those. It's just that the time frame is a lot shorter and the profits come a lot quicker. So let me explain more in depth what I mean. But in short, buying any sort of ASIC miner is always going to come with some sort of risk involved, and with Kaspa, you're just kind of shrinking the time frame in order to figure out if you are actually gonna make money from buying that Kaspa ASIC miner or not. And you know, thankfully, this is what I have this kind of spreadsheet here to somewhat help us navigate to figure out if buying a Kaspa ASIC is actually worth it or not. But let me elaborate on what I mean by this whole time frame thing, starting with, you know, let's look at the more established ASIC mineable crypto coins like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, Litecoin. And usually what it looks like there is whenever a new ASIC miner generation is, you know, announced or released for any of those coins, usually they tend to look like they are going to ROI in about 1 to 2 years on the day they are launching. You know, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, but that's kind of the average that I've seen, where meaning that when you buy them, it's looking like they're gonna break even and make a profit within like 1 to 2 years of buying the miner itself. And it kind of also seemed to be the trend that that's kind of also the timeline for when the next generation of miner is, going to be released for that coin. And also, all of those more established coins like Bitcoin, they tend to have a block reward halving every 4 years. So, after 4 years of mining, the block reward is going to be cut in half, and everyone starts making half as many coins after that point. So, what it kind of looks like there is for every block reward era, there kind of seem to be 2 generations of ASIC miners for that coin. And actually with Kaspa, it's kind of exactly the same. It's just that this whole timeline is shrunk down to be a lot quicker, so faster money in a way, I guess. And because it seems that whenever a new generation of Kaspa ASIC miners come out, they kind of launch with an expected ROI time of around 6 months. Now, this is kind of loosely because when we saw the very first ASIC miners come out, they seem to ROI in what looked like just a few days, and it's been a bit longer recently. So we're just kind of talking really loose terms here. But what also is the case with Kaspa is because it has such an aggressive block reward reduction, or emission schedule rather, where every single month the the coin emissions to miners is cut by roughly 5.4%. That means that that's kind of the equivalent of a block reward halving every single year. So every year, because of the scheduled emission reductions, you're kind of making 50% of what you were a year ago in terms of coin yield from mining Kaspa. And it also is kind of 2 generations during that period, 2 generations of Kaspa miners. So it's kind of exactly the same, where you have the equivalent of a block reward halving every single year, and within that year you're kind of getting 2 generations of ASIC miners for Kaspa. So in a way, it's kind of the same. You just don't, instead of having to wait 2 years to find out if you ROI'd and made a profit before the next generation of miner comes out, like with script mining or Bitcoin mining or whatever, you are just having to wait like 6 months. Now, with that said, that's not to say that after, the new generation of miners come out, the old generation isn't profitable anymore, because what we've seen with Kaspa so far, at least, is that it stays profitable. The original KS0 is still profitable to this day. So just keep that in mind as well. Now, one more thing that I want to talk about here is the network hash rate for Kaspa, which obviously has been growing and growing and growing. And we need to take that into account when we make our predictions on whether or not a Kaspa miner will be worth it or not to buy, because as the network hash rate grows, more and more mining hash rate is coming online for Kaspa, we're gonna yield less and less coin. So how can we predict how much network hash rate is going to come online? Well, I've actually made this spreadsheet here where I've downloaded the exact network hash rate for Kaspa. So you can see what I got here. And I've done that because in order to sort of make our predictions on how the network hash rate will grow, in the upcoming future, I feel like just visualizing it helps, because there's kind of 2 different ways of doing these net hash growth, predictions. One is to just say the net hash is going to, on average, grow by a steady amount every month, which is my preferred way and the way I do it in the spreadsheet that I've got available to you guys that we're going to be look at in just a minute. Or you can do network hash rate growth as a percentage, where you're saying, oh, network hash rate seem to be growing by 25% every single month, which is my not preferred way of doing it, and I'm going to show you why. So as I said, I have the exact network hash rate for Kaspa here downloaded, and then I've started doing the sort of expected growth using these 2. But let's just look at the graph for it here. So here you can see I have the exact network hash rate for Kaspa, and I've also put this kind of trend line in here. So we have data up until the 1st of July. And now I want to show you what it just looks like if we say from this point on average, the network hash rate is going to grow by 25 petahash per month. And that would look like this. So, you know, if we're just kind of looking at the graph of the real data that we have here, and then just kind of follow the trajectory of that, to me, this looks more realistic. Now, what do I actually think will happen with the network hash rate? Well, I kind of think what will happen is what we've seen happen so far, which is every time a new generation of miners come out, or whenever there's a very significant price cut on a Kaspa miner, we see a big bump and then some sideways action. So for example, you know, here we had a big bump and then we had some sideways action. And then here we kind of had a big bump and then some sideways action, bump, sideways action, actually a bit of a decline, and then some steady upward and then some sideways. You know, you get the point, right? So I believe when, you know, this new generation of the KS5 Pros start shipping and the KS0 Ultras all start shipping, and we'll get to all of those miners in just a bit, you know, it's probably going to jump up a bit here. And then when all of those people get their miners, we're gonna have some sideways action and then, you know, another jump up. But maybe on average, something like this is kind of what we would be looking at. And now let me show you why I don't do a percentage, like 25% network hash rate growth every month. And that is because then you're looking at an exponential graph. So keep in mind, I still have the network hash rate that I downloaded in this graph, but doing a percentage would look like this. So you can see I still have the network hash rate down here. And I just wanted to kind of realize that with the sort of trend line here, we're supposed to, so this is a 2-year period here. So we're looking from July 2024 to July 2026. And with this trend line, we're looking to end up somewhere around maybe like 1,000 petahash. But if we're doing it as a 25% month-on-month increase, we're not ending up at 1,000 petahash. We're ending up at 60,000 petahash. Like this, you know, yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is what it will look like, but to me, this looks like a way more realistic, maybe a little bit steeper of a growth than this. But on average, you know, kind of this is the growth trajectory that looks kind of more realistic to me. Again, as I said, I think it's going to be kind of like upwards and sideways and upwards and sideways. Then maybe, you know, we see a bit of a downwards trend if, you know, the Kaspa price goes down for a while. Who knows? Anyway, I think this is just for me to explain why I'm doing a sort of steady increase in hash rate like this in my spreadsheet as opposed to a percentage increase like this. So I just wanted to kind of explain my thought pattern there. But now without further ado, let's get into the actual spreadsheet here, the star of the show. So this is the spreadsheet. I will have this linked down in the description of this video. And this spreadsheet is to help you guys sort of kind of do your best possible prediction on buying a Kaspa ASIC and if it's actually worth it in the end. So how this spreadsheet works is it fetches some data here, the network hash rate, the coin price as of today, the current coin yield per gigahash. Then you have 4 boxes here, 4 cells here that you can input your own data into. But in order to do that, you need to click File and then make a copy. And then once you've made a copy of the spreadsheet, it's also probably going to ask you to fetch data from, you know, a different source. You will get a little pop-up or something like that, and you need to hit allow because that's how I get the network hash rate and the price of the miners and so on. But once you've done that, you can fill these in, starting with your power price. So for me, that's actually 14 cents per kilowatt hour. But let's put it at 15 because I think that's more along the average of like residential miners. Then you also have the estimated network hash rate growth per month. So as I said, I have this as a fixed rate of hash rate, and you know, I just explained why I do that rather than a percentage. But here you can enter kind of how fast you think the network hash rate will grow on average. And then finally, well, not finally, there's one more thing here, which also if you expect to be able to resell your miner at the end of this whole thing, If you don't want to resell your miner when you've done mining with it, you can just put this to 0. If you expect you'll be able to sell the miner for a quarter of what you bought it for, enter, you know, 0.25 as I have it here. Then finally, you know, depending on if you're mining Kaspa and you believe Kaspa's coin price is going to go up a lot in value, or if you're actually mining with these Kaspa ASICs and swapping into a different coin, or even mining into with something like unminable and just straight up mining into another coin, which is, you know, an advantage of these Kaspa ASICs is that, you know, they unminable do support them, and I believe also NiceHash supports them as well if you just want Bitcoin rather than Kaspa. What you can do here is you can just kind of enter how much you expect the coin price of whatever coin you are in either swapping into or mining directly with these miners will increase in price. So I know a lot of people expect Kaspa to go to $1. So right now 17 cents, about 6-time coin increase for Kaspa to get to $1, or 12 times if you believe Kaspa is going to go to $2 or whatever. Now, I'm going to go over like a little bit of a few scenarios here, but mainly I want you to just download this spreadsheet and input your own predictions, because, you know, in the end, I know as much about the future as you do, really. So you should enter what you think and kind of figure out your own risk level that you're willing to take with these based on the numbers you input for yourself here. Just enter your numbers here, and then the spreadsheet is going to spit back your results. So you can see here the price of the miners, and you can see the different discount codes from CoinMine Central, and then the price the miner would be after that discount. Link to the miner, whether the miner is in stock or not. Then I have this field here. And this is kind of to compare the different miners, where obviously the darker the green is better and the brighter the green is worse. So first of all, efficiency, meaning how many watts per hash rate do you get? And you want this to be as low as possible. You want to be using, as you know, the fewest amount of watts per hash rate possible. And to no one's surprise, the Bitmain KS5 Pro is the most efficient one there at 0.15 watts per gigahash. If we give this one more decimal here, we can see a little bit more precisely where we're at, but basically that is it. It's got the same efficiency as the regular KS5, but it is a little pricier per hash, which is the next row here, price per gigahash, which basically you want this to be as low as possible as well, because you want to be paying the least amount of money possible for, you know, the most amount of hash rate possible in order to ROI. You basically want a miner that uses as little electricity as possible for the amount of hash rate that it gets, but you also want it to be as cheap as possible for the amount of hash rate that it gets. And only you know the exact balance you want to find between those two. But with that in mind, if we look at the price per gigahash here, we can see that the cheapest one per gigahash is actually the IB-Link BMKS Max, currently at only 44 cents per gigahash. You know, with the runner-up being the Iceriver KS5L at 45 cents per gigahash, and probably the KS5L is the better buy there, as it's, you know, kind of significantly more efficient than the IB-Link, which basically means as the network hash rate grows, it's going to stay profitable for longer. And also, if we look at just the break-even time, meaning if, you know, network hash rate stays as it is right now, we take the emission schedule, you know, not into account, and Kaspa's price also stays as it is right now, how long would it take to for these miners to make their money back with, you know, today's situation? And you can see here the quickest ROIing miner is actually the KS5L, the Iceriver KS5L, at just 171 days. So as you can see, about that 6 months mark that I was talking about way earlier in this video. And yeah, I think with that, I want to move on to the kind of more in-depth section here, which is it calculates just how much, based on your inputs here, you would kind of earn with these miners month on month. So it's total. So month 1, you will have yielded a total of this many Kaspa coins with the KS5 Pro. Month 2, it goes up to this much, month 3, and so on. It also talks about the total revenue. So how much money would you actually make selling all of your mined coins at the expected coin sell price, you know, with the price growth that you've entered here. So, for example, if you buy a KS5 Pro, mine with it for 1 month, based on these sort of values that we've entered here, you will end up with 13,500 Kaspa. And if you're able to sell that Kaspa, after Kaspa does a 6x increase in price from where it is now, so when Kaspa hits about $1, well, that's obviously like selling all of your mined coins for $13,000 roughly, and you've spent about $12,000 buying the miner and, you know, paying for power with your 15 cents per kilowatt hour electric, meaning your final profit there. This also takes into account reselling the miner for a quarter of what you bought it for. You've made a final profit of about $4,200, about $4,300 almost. So I want to make sure I emphasize here that the final profit is how much more money you have at the end compared to when you started. So think of it as like, yeah, actual profit, not just how much money you have, but how much more money you have compared to when you started. And if we just look like how I'm kind of wanting you to use this spreadsheet is just kind of scrolling down to how long you expect to be able to mine profitably with these miners before you either sell them or just stop using them. And it goes all the way down to 2 years here. So if you, for example, now buy a KS5 Pro and mine on it for 2 full years, you will have a final profit of about $100,000. And keep in mind that is $100,000 more than you had when you started. And if we look through here, we can see that basically based on, you know, these inputs that we have here, all of the current generation miners will end up with a profit here. Even the KS0 Ultra will make you about $1,800 in final profit. And I think I've kind of rambled on enough. As I said, I'd rather than me just kind of waffling and inputting different numbers here, go down in the description. The link to the spreadsheet will be there. Enter your own numbers and predictions and kind of try different scenarios out and kind of see what you come up with. And then based on that, you can make your own judgment on whether buying a Kaspa ASIC is worth it or not for you. So yeah, go check out that spreadsheet and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.